My previous video went over the 5 things that I recommend to do if someone is dying, and here I said I would go over the specifics of them. So we're going to start with the first one that I said, which is educate yourself on the dying process and know what to expect. So this is important and it's helpful because a lot of times when somebody's going through the process of dying, there is steps to it, and while they're not exact, they do help you when you see certain things. For example, towards the end, you'll also see the breathing changes. And this happened for a few weeks with my mom, and it was quite startling. It's actually, you think that they're suffering from it, but then I watched some videos on YouTube and I got educated. And what's happening is while they're sleeping, they will stop breathing. And it can be for long periods of time, including like 30, 45 seconds. It just depends. And my mom would go for like 30 seconds and she just would not breathe. And then she'd breathe in. And she did this constantly for a few weeks, and it was really hard in the beginning, and that's why I'm saying the education was important. I even watched videos of actual people this was happening to, so I could fully understand it. If you can't go that far, I completely understand. I'm just saying that there are videos out there by a hospice nurse to help you walk through those bits and pieces. So, and then you realize when they talk about it that they're not suffering. In those moments that they're sleeping and they're unconscious and they're not suffering, they're not struggling for air. And you can tell that after you watch the video and then you watch the person doing it. And so I felt comfort knowing that this is just part of the process and that she's not suffering. Also, part of the process is that they'll disconnect from us. So there was days and periods of time where all she did was sleep. And think of it this way. It's like giving birth. There's a process to it, and there's a whole thing that your body has to go through. That's what this dying process is. It's the dying process to die, just like the dying process is to live. So she's basically transitioning to the other side. So they disconnect from us while they're here. So there was a few days, several days in a row where she just wanted to sleep. She didn't really communicate, and it was just like there but not there. And in that time, I did talk to my mom when she woke up, and she did say that she felt the angels during that time. And there comes a time where they can't really communicate. So then there's that time where they're no longer responsive and they're having that breathing. And towards the end, there's a thing called the death rattle, which is basically the mucus that they can no longer clear from their throat. And it's all in there. And it sounds, when they turn my mom on her side to reposition her, it got really loud. And it was actually quite startling. But it's completely normal, and she wasn't gasping for air, so it wasn't that she was suffering. It was just part of the process. And so just like in giving birth, you have to accept things as they're happening and know it's part of the process. And if they're suffering, we can do what we can to make them comfortable, which I'll go into another step. But the thing is that to educate yourself and completely read things from hospice nurses, there's lots of literature out there for going through the process of dying before they get to that point, when they get to that point, and towards the end, and even after the grieving process. That will help you as well. There was another thing at the end where they say that sometimes they'll have all of a sudden this burst of energy and they'll seem like their old selves again. They'll want to eat, because that's one thing I forgot to mention is they stop eating and drinking. Like my mom would drink apple juice or sip apple juice, but not very much on some days. And she didn't want to eat at all. So that happened towards the end. So with this burst of energy, I had come back from a break, which I'll go in another step, and she basically all of a sudden perked up. She had been asleep for like the 2 days for the weekend I was there, then the 2 days that my sister was there completely asleep, and then I got back and she perked up and woke up and was more active, and active as in not like full on, she couldn't get up or anything like that, but like more awake, wanted to watch TV with me, fall asleep and be awake and talk a little bit. She was having trouble talking towards the end. And they said there's different things about this. So the hospice nurse said she was living on sheer will and should have passed away a few weeks ago, but she hadn't. She was hanging on for a reason. And so she said that she couldn't tell me how long she'd have energy for, because normally if you read literature, it's not very long. But my mom lasted for almost 2 days, which was amazing that I was able to be there with her during that time and to see that. Like, she wanted to have her phone again, not that she could actually use it with her dexterity of her hands and stuff, but she wanted to hold her phone like she normally does on her. She wanted to put her glasses on, so I helped her put her glasses on. She wanted apple juice and these drinks called Olipop, like, constantly. So I would get up and I would help her. I'd have to help her sip the drinks, but she drank a lot those 2 days that I was with her, and sitting up and putting her glasses on, taking them off. Like, I helped her put them off and on when she needed it, which she hadn't done in a while. So it was like this burst of energy that lasted longer than it typically does. And so just educating yourself, and know that the things that you see, there's not an exact time frame in science to it, and everybody's different based on their free will and their process of dying. They could go quickly, they could last longer. Just know, and just enough to educate yourself to know the things that you're seeing is normal and not to be scared of it. And that way, if you're not scared and you're educated, then you can be there fully for them to help them be able to transition peacefully. I hope that helps you. Love always and forever. Bye for now.